Can you help us expound on multidimensional poverty?
There are lots of people today that the flooring in their house is red sand, it's mud, and they sleep there, right? There are people that are sleeping 14 persons in one room. People today use dung as cooking fuel, yes, charcoal and all of that, which is not healthy for them. Multidimensional poverty just goes deep because we've seen that it's not just about saying that these people are poor. We're looking at how are they poor. You cannot do international development without your emotions, right? You would see things on the field that, when you go back home, sometimes you might just want to start crying, right? So while I was in Gombe State in 2017, I taught teenagers in school. They were in SS3 at the time. And I remember a certain time, just with my exposure, I knew that they weren't as exposed. So we're just discussing in class one day, and I started to ask people after school, where would you guys want to go to? Expecting that the answer was going to be university. And everybody started giggling and shouting, marriage, right?
At the secondary school?
Yes, SS3. They were so happy. They were giggling. You could see the joy on their faces.
Hi, everyone. You're welcome to Femme Biz. This is a space where we host honest and intelligent conversations with women who are shaping the future of impact, business, and policy across Africa and beyond. My name is Joy Abia, and I remain your host on this space. Today's conversation is going to be one enlightening us on the topic of poverty, power, and access. Today, I have Tega Edwards with me. But before I go ahead to introduce my guest, I'm going to give you some statistics that are very important to this conversation. First of all, globally, according to the World Bank, we have over 700 million people who still live in extreme poverty. And we still also have, according to Oxford, the University of Oxford, I looked this up, 1.1 billion people who are still living in extreme multi-dimensional poverty, which means this has nothing to do with income now. It is about their access to health, quality living standards, and education. And of this 1.1 billion people, women make the most percentage of it, which means women still live in extreme poverty. And this phenomenon is referred to as the feminization of poverty. Now, in sub-Saharan Africa, women are more likely to be affected by unpaid labor, limited access to education, and reduced economic opportunities. Now, we're learning that poverty is way more than just income, and it's about the access to things that make life better. So today on the show, I have Tega Edwards with me. I do have her bio, but I'm going to let her introduce herself in the most comfortable way that she can, and I would add something. Hi, Tegs.
Hi, Joy.
You're welcome to my space.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
All right, please let's know what we need to know about you.
Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Tega Edwards. I'm a Christian, a wife, a mom, and professionally, I'm an international development professional. I've been in this space now going to 8 years. In basic terms, international development is all about helping people. So what you would regard as the NGOs, the United Nations, WHOs, all of those make up international development. We want people's economic standards, their social standards, their financial standards to be better, their health standards, their standards of living generally to be better. So that's what we would call international development. And
amazing.
I love it here.
Amazing. Okay, so adding to that, Tega is also certified in poverty and human development by Oxford University's OPHI.
Yes.
And she's deeply passionate about locally driven solutions to global challenges. I know that personally, right? So beyond her development work, she also leads Sling and Stones, which just recently launched. And it's a fashion initiative aligned with this SDG Goal 12. It's focused on responsible production,
Yes.
and
Consumption.
positive economic impact, right? Tega, you're welcome once again.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask, first of all, like, let's start from the beginning, the background of
Yeah.
your work. Like, why do you love what you do, and why did you even choose this path of like in development, poverty, you know, reduction and all of that? Why are you passionate about this? Like, tell us, how did it start? Give us a story. Let's walk with you through how you got there.
So my first degree is in international relations, right? I spent 4 years doing that. And moving on from there, I had my master's degree in political science, but the specialization was also international relations. So you could say the foundation was already there,
from
right? Yes.
Academics, yeah.
And during my master's, I joined an organization called Hands Off Initiative. Hands Off Initiative was majorly focused on educating people on consent. So we went to secondary schools, orphanages, universities, teaching people about consent, how to know when your consent has been, you know, violated. We talked on sexual assault, victim blaming, rape culture, all of those things. At that time, that was already development work. I did not know at the time, because that's actually field work in international development. So I went on to join a program with the Institute of Development Research. And that was the first time that I got to know about international development. What's international development? At that time in my life, I was already considering a career path in it, right? So that was the time I heard about international development, the types of fields. It's a very, very broad field, right? So there are different aspects of it. And it was also the first time I got to learn about multidimensional poverty at that institute. Yeah. So for me, that was the entry point into international development. That's, you know, a short span. It wasn't short, but yeah.
Okay.
That time.
So your growth in this path, right? Is there at any point that you said, okay, now I want to, because I know that this is like a global thing. This is something that affects everybody, poverty, right?
Yeah.
But now talking about the feminization of poverty, is there at any point where like you maybe in field work, you discover that there's such a thing, like I would really love to give myself to this part of, you know, this aspect, like for this gender, something like that. Is there at any point?
Yes, actually, multiple times, right? You cannot do international development without your emotions, right? You would see things on the field that, you know, when you go back home, sometimes you might just want to start crying, right? So at multiple times, while I was in Gombe State in 2017, I taught teenagers in school. They were in SS3 at the time. And I remember a certain time, just with my exposure, I knew that they weren't as exposed. It was a public school, and I knew that they weren't as exposed. So we're just discussing in class one day, and I started to ask people, like, you know, after school, where would you guys want to go to? Expecting that the answer was going to be university. And everybody started giggling and shouting, marriage, right?
At the secondary school?
Yes,
Oh
SS3. They were so happy. They were giggling. Like, you could see the joy on their faces. And, you know, that was something that struck me, right? The perspective that people have in the North, especially Northern girls. So for me, that was the first time that I could connect so deeply with gender equality, and the fact that these restrictions, you know, it's really, really something, right? Different from how the boys think. Some of the boys were thinking about going to universities and all that. But for the girls, it was about marriage. And that's because the culture there, that's what is prevalent, right? Early marriages. So aside that, there was another time when we went to schools, public schools as well, secondary schools. This was actually in Ibadan at the time. And we started to hear about young girls that were being raped by their fathers, right? The teachers were the ones that even called us aside, you know, while we're teaching on consent and all of that, like, please, we need to be very particular about these students because these are the things that are going on. Maybe this person has lost her mom and, you know, the dad is raping her and has been sleeping with her. So the school had to, you know, take the girl away from the families. because also they're public school students, a lot of time they will be forced, they were not forced, but they had to cut their hair. So they'll find themselves a lot of times at barbers' shops, and those barbers also would be molesting them, harassing them, right? So it was always a lot. So those things just make you passionate, right? You find out that there are lots of things that are going on that we don't always think about until you are in that, until that space, you would not know that these things are actually prevalent. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Tega. I mean, you said you can't do these things without your emotions. How, but how? Tell us how you try.
They said in an Institute of Development Research, right? Like you have to be resilient. International development, you just have to be resilient. Your mind, your emotions, right? You just have to be resilient. For me, it's God, right? Sometimes it's very saddening, especially when a lot of times you would feel powerless. You feel like, I want to do so much, right? But you are reaching out to government. Sometimes governments, they give you hope. Other times they don't continue on the things they've promised. Do you understand? So it's a lot of things, but you just need to keep progressing and doing the little things that you can, or the big things that you can, in making impact in your own way, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tega. Okay, so how about can you tell us, now we know that poverty is more than just income. I mean, we need to, maybe I want to give my audience like a proper, a breakdown of really what multidimensional poverty is, aside income. We know that like it's not just about how much money you have, but it also has to do with how your level of education, the access that you have, and how healthy you are to even do anything that you want to do. So please, can you help us expound on multidimensional poverty in a way that we can all understand.
So as the name goes, multidimensional, right? Traditionally, we've been taught to look at poverty or measure poverty with just income. So is this person employed? What are they doing? Okay, you're fine. But are you really fine? Multidimensional poverty, we've seen that poverty has many faces, and it's not just income alone, right? So multidimensional poverty is going deep. We are going into your house and looking at the kind of house you are living in. But it's not just that you have a house. What kind of roofing materials is being used? There are lots of people today that the flooring in their house is red sand, it's mud, and they sleep there, right? There are people that are sleeping 14 persons in one room, right? So it's tough for people. The kind of sanitation that's available, the kind of cooking fuel that you are using. People today use dung to as cooking fuel, yes. Charcoal and all of that, which is not healthy for them, right? It's not also healthy for the environment, right? Fossil fuels and all of that. So multidimensional poverty just goes deep, because we've seen that it's not just about saying that these people are poor. We're looking at how are they poor, right? So that when you are churning out programs, you want to go into these communities, you know where to target, address, you know where to face, right? People don't have access to, basic health services. It's a lot of things. Even to their mental state. We find out that even when government even creates maybe primary health care centers for poor people, they are still victimized even there. They are still treated badly, harassed just because they are poor. So all of these things affect them, right? Their emotional states, their mental states, it tells on a person. So that's really what multidimensional poverty is about. It's beyond income, as we've been taught to just see, poverty in those lenses.
Would you say that there are still people, because I know that we do have the classification of people by, should I say the low income? We have low income, high income, then we have below low income. Do you get? So would you say that there are people at these certain levels that still would have these multidimensional, even though, yes, you're earning gross of say 800,000 naira a year or something, or maybe 1 million, but do you think those kind of people will still experience those other dimensions of poverty?
Maybe not in absolute terms, because multidimensional poverty, you have to measure it, right? So there are some indicators. We can look at health, we look at your environment, look at this. So if you are above for like, if you're below 33.3%, you're considered multidimensionally poor. So for those kind of people, maybe they would not fall into that bracket. But let's look at the minimum wage, for instance, now in Nigeria, 70,000. We know that it's not implemented everywhere. Some people earn below 70,000, right? So you're earning 70,000, you're a father of 3, you have to pay school fees. The place where you are living is very bad, the environment is very bad, so you are susceptible to diseases. So you fall ill and you have to pay out of pocket from that 70,000 naira, right? You're paying for drugs. All of these things have an impact. You still have to buy food. I mean, a lot of time they don't even think about clothing, right? You still have to buy food, basic things. It is not enough, right? So sometimes you are earning, you have income, but still you are multidimensionally poor, right? When it's calculated, you find out that you are multidimensionally poor. And there's some other things that you think about in the multidimensional metric. So how many children have completed 6 years of schooling? Right? Looking at the past 5 years from when the survey is taken, has there been any death under 18? Right? So there are different metrics to which you measure it and you say, okay, this household is multidimensionally poor. This person is multidimensionally poor.
Okay, so there are other indicators we need to look at.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. So I think we're going to go back to women because, I mean, personally, I just have, maybe not just because I'm a woman, or maybe because I'm a woman, but there are just a lot of things that touch me about the situation of like women. And as much as I think you said that earlier, as much as we've made some progress, in the world globally with the level of, should I say, awareness that women have gotten, we've gone far, but we still have a long way to go because there's still a lot of other women in some societies, which you mentioned, that still don't even know what more to look up to than like, being a domestic, help or being a domestic caregiver. Yeah. So like, how would you like maybe practically say that these roles, like let's say, and there's still some women who are actually underpaid in some places because of their gender. So they're like, okay, you probably would have a man, your husband is taking care of, but like how, maybe I want you to tell us how these unpaid labor, or maybe like unfair payments or stuff like that, and then all these caregiving roles and all of that, how that impacts women economically, on a global scale. Like, can you say something?
So on paid caregiving, right? It's largely undervalued, right? Well, not even unpaid caregiving. Caregiving in general is largely undervalued everywhere because social norms just classify women as, okay, you should be the one to take care of the children. I mean, it should be joint, right? But social norms has made it so to say that women are the primary people to take care of their children. But what they are doing is actually, it's labor, right? And it should be valued as labor. But a lot of times it's undervalued as such because that's good work you are doing, taking care of children. These children are going to grow up to be future contributors to the society, right? So if I'm taking care of my child and I'm at home, I don't have time to pursue paid employment, right? And that would tell on,
the quality
of my life, my finances and all of that. It reduces the economic leverage that I have, basically. So social norms have been wired in such a way that we don't value these things. And the interesting part about it, like, there's a balance. There's also an angle where women are they have paid employment, but they are made to sign contracts that you're not going to get pregnant in the next 5 years.
Wow.
Yes, even in this Lagos, like big companies. Yes.
I've never heard it before.
Oh, yes.
Never.
Right.
Wow.
You're going to sign before you. You're going to sign before you.
So
like, you're not going to get
because
pregnant.
they know, like, okay, you entering that phase is going to affect them.
Yes, and they're all about the profit. They're not all about
the person.
right? So these things have been very, very unfair to women, and it's something that has to be looked into, right? Where we people have, and that's why a lot of women have to just lean to petty roles, like petty jobs rather, just petty trading here and there to support themselves at home. But you know that this thing is not helping their economic, lives, not helping their financial, lives at all.
What are the ways that we can go for like women, like practical women empowerment now? Like what can we actually do? What are the most practical ways? Because you've been in the field and you know what's what people are actually really facing. So what do people need to do? What do other women need to even give their energy to in certain ways that could actually change a life for the long term, because when someone has grown up in a particular space for, with a certain mindset, bringing them maybe out of to a better financial environment does not mean that, things will change. It's like, maybe that person's whole life may change just immediately. There are different psychological impacts that person has that will still affect how, that's maybe empowerment, how far that empowerment goes in their life. So, like, I want you to, like, maybe, first of all, like, just tell us, like, what are those practical ways for empowerment, Yeah.
So I think one thing that we need to do in this, let's say, century or generation, right, is changing the model of development that we've been used to, right? Development in the past has mostly been aid. Okay, I just give you a bag of rice. I just put you, go and learn a skill, go and learn this, go and learn that. Those things are not bad, and the intention behind them is not bad. But if we're looking at long-term impacts, it doesn't suffice, right? We need to change. I was working on a project, and it was field work as well, and it's speaking to so many women and just asking them some questions about their future. Where do they see themselves? A number of them would always go back to the fact that they didn't complete schooling. And like, if they completed schooling, they really believe that they would have, a better life today. They wish they could go back to school and all of that. While that is a noble thing to think about, I mean, going back to school, not like, thinking about the past and all that, right? If you want to move forward, we need to shift away from that mindset, right? And I'll give an example of my nanny, right? My nanny is a she's very good at what she does.
Okay.
Like, professionally, she's really, really good. And at a time, a previous employer actually took her to London for 6 months, which is something that people don't do. Do you understand? Like, if your family is traveling, they will leave you behind. Why am I paying for your flight ticket? But they took her. At the time, they even took her. She wasn't working in the capacity of a nanny. She was working like as a caretaker at the house. But the kids requested that the nanny should not go, but she should be the one to follow them. Like, she's just that good, I'd like to believe. So eventually, our mom passed on, and she wanted to come for the burial. But our employer was like, no, like, you can't go, because they felt like she was lying. Like, she wanted to just like run, and she has worked with them for 4 years, right? So a certain day, while she started to work for me, she got scammed. Like, they snatched her bag when she was going home, and took all her savings and all of that. So when she came, she was crying, and I was trying to comfort her, and she started to say that she doesn't know why she should have been working for somebody for 4 years. Also, they helped her to complete secondary schooling, but they promised her that they would take her, they will further her education, university. And like, after working with them for 4 years, it didn't help her. Like, if she had gone to university, maybe, she was just blaming herself and just blaming her condition, right? And I started to speak to her about value, that you're a very valuable person. And you need to change that mindset of how you see yourself. Education is good. Education is great. Going to school is great. But sometimes it's not the only path to development, right? There are billionaires today. You can look at Mr. Cosmos Maduka. He didn't go to school, and he's always talking about it. Do you understand? So we need to, in a country where there is severe illiteracy, let's put it at that, we need to shift our mindset from thinking like, oh, everybody needs to go back to school before they will have a better life. Do you understand? So that's the focus where empowerment needs to go. Look at chess in slums, right? It's not a merit-based, it's a skill-based empowerment system. But out of that system, people are funded to school. People have scholarships. Do you understand? But the foundation is not education. It's skill based. So we need to shift. You're a businesswoman. Yes, you didn't complete school, but you're punctual at work. you show up for your business. Do you understand? You are dogged in. So you have qualities that are really, really sought for. And I love what you said about the fact that you're empowering people in your own way. Doesn't mean that change is going to be immediate. If people encounter challenges in their businesses, they still have to rise up the next day. Do you understand? All those things, they are things that you learn. They are skills that, you learn. It will not just fall upon you because somebody is trying to empower you. You still have personal responsibility. Do you understand? To sit up and, do this thing. So for her, I started to talk to her about value, that you're a very valuable person. Nobody just takes you to London because they want to carry you. They saw value in you, and you need to see that value in yourself. Do you understand? And stop thinking like, oh, this is the only path to my life being better. It is not so. And I feel like for a lot of Nigerians, that's the model of development that we need to, start doing towards. So organizations are coming in. Yes, you can organize programs where people learn these skills, where people need to understand that as much as we want to help you, personal responsibility is still something that you still need to learn. Or do you understand? A lot of people need to know that empowerment is not just me helping you. There's also responsibility that has to come from you. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
Amazing. That's important.
So basically, the empowerment needs to shift from we're just giving you, putting you in places, come here, go to school, but like your personal development is the most important thing. Thank you so much. So maybe in terms of like should we say policy, I don't know, let's touch a bit on like, do you think that we have, like, maybe in Nigeria, for example, we have like, maybe we still have like, or like in your own view, how much, like how far do we have to go with in terms of policies that support these kind of development, and especially when it comes to even women, especially like women empowerment and gender equality, how far is this policies? Like how far do we want more policies? Where are we lacking?
So there's something called gender mainstreaming, right? And gender mainstreaming is just saying that considerations have to be made at all levels when you're making laws for gender, right? So you're making a law. Now you have to think about, is this law favorable to just men? How is it affecting women? So when you are making budget allocations, like policies, you're making all of those things high up above, gender mainstreaming has to enter it. When you are in the police force and people are being recruited, gender mainstreaming has to enter into it. So at all levels, because even the police need to be trained, to address issues in a gender responsive way, right? Women come to you, but your cultural bias is limiting you from seeing the pain that the woman is talking about. Oh, go to your house. My husband, beats me up, and you're going to report. And it's like, no, you should keep issues within the family. Do you understand? All those kind of things, right? It's not good, because sometimes that cultural bias that the police force have, in fact, the police force sometimes are even the perpetrators of violence. Do you understand? Sometimes they're even the ones that are harassing women. Do you understand? So all these things play a factor. I think for Nigeria, we've made progress. Like, we're having these conversations, right? There are lots of things that the United Nations Development Program is doing in Nigeria. So these conversations that were not had, that we've not been having so many years back, we're having them now. So I really think that we're making progress.
How because personally, someone who is like more, I'll consider myself multifaceted. So I would, once I have like an interest in something, I'm always trying to pick into it and like, how far can this go? But I've learned that there are different ways to, especially like maybe financially, if you have different interests, maybe one, you can just focus on one and then maybe just put your money in the other while someone else is backing it up. But I want to ask how you think, like, just a common, like, just anybody at all, whether at least this, but like, let's say someone that has more who is more developed than other people in society that we actually need to focus on. How can you say that just the average person could help out in empowerment, even if they don't have money for like a big, event, or to set up some form of empowerment scheme, what can just an average person who has a heart for something do?
I think development is at whatever scale. Anything is possible, right? Whatever it is that you want to. If you can't do things on your own, you can partner with organizations that are also doing things. There are lots of NGOs that are always looking for funding at every point in time. If you can't volunteer, if you don't have money to give, you can volunteer your time. Can volunteer your knowledge. Do you understand? Your skills. You can partner with an NGO. Okay, we have an outreach here. We want to teach these students on these things. And they will train you also. So it's not like, oh, I have to be so knowledgeable on the subject. Do you understand? So if something that you're passionate about, just, search on organizations that are already doing something. Yes, and just partner with them. Development is not something that it always has to be big. At whatever scale you are making an impact in someone's life.
Amazing.
So now let's talk about business as a tool for impact. Your SDG 12, right? And I mean, recently you launched Sling and Stones, and I'm a proud benefactor of that brand because I got some items myself. But I want you to tell us, like Sling and Stones is a business, but at the core of it, you're doing something, right? And I want you to explain that to us. Tell us what it is about. Like, I'm just giving you the floor now.
Okay, so Sling and Stones is a fashion initiative. The focus is on SDG 12 that has to do with responsible consumption and production. And at our core, we want to extend the cycle of clothes, right? We believe that there is value in the things that are in your closet. So when you purchase an item and you don't want it anymore, you don't need to, throw it away. You can extend that cycle because it's only 20% of discarded clothing that ever gets to be recycled. Every other thing goes to landfills and it's not good for the environment, right?
I've seen that.
So we want you to be purposeful. In fact, if you know that your clothes are too much, maybe you need to start rethinking your purchase decisions. Do you understand? It's not everything that you need to buy. You can buy per need. Obviously, we're not going to be restricting people's choices, right? But the idea is that people start to think about these things. People start to understand that fashion brands are actually out to get your money. Before, fashion seasons will come like twice in a year. Now it's back to back. So we are churning out more clothes that you don't even have time to even wear one before you are onto another one, right? So responsible consumption and production is you having these intentional conversations with yourself, right? Cloth, if this thing is not my size, I can give it to another worthy user. It's not the one that you keep it in your wardrobe and say, I must go back to a size 8. Do you understand? I am a size 12, right? I must go back to this. It's a worthy goal. If you want to, it's fine, right? But these are the conversations that we want people to start having at Sling and Stones.
Amazing.
So like Sling and Stones is not focused on production? Like you're not going to be producing your own, like what's the future like?
No, we're not producing. We're not producing.
Okay. Just like, and what's like, do you have a system on how that goes? Can someone be a part of giving, clothes that they don't want?
So yeah, there's seller onboarding cycles that would happen where it's not going to be infinitely open. It's just going to be open maybe like for the first 7 days of the month where we collect clothes from sellers. We also have guidelines on the kind of things that you would give. We don't want clothes that are fast fashion centered. So is it Shein? They call it
Shein.
Yeah. No, we don't want those ones. Right. So the quality items that you have, right, that you don't want anymore, there will be checks. If this thing is acceptable, we would collect it. If it's not, we would, gently and kindly, return those items. So yeah, there's a supplier chain. I also go to the market to shop for items myself and also sell at reduced prices. But these are second-hand items, like thrift items. So I've always had a thing for labels when I was younger. When my mom would buy me second-hand items, I'll always be checking the labels. So this one is Atmosphere. This one is Dorothy Perkins. Do you understand? So I actually have an eye for
those things,
those kind of brands. And I know that a lot of women like wearing those kind of things. So the Primarks, the Zara's, H&M's, and all of that. So I also source for those items personally, and the ones that are in good state, they are dry cleaned. We also tell our suppliers also, like, okay, some of these your items might go through a steaming process, right? So, and they're prepared, they're packaged and sold at affordable prices.
Amazing. Okay, so I think that I really enjoyed this conversation with you, Tega. Thank you so much. You do know your stuff, and I'm so I'm so enlightened by it. So I think on a final note, I would like, even though we have just said, you've also just told us how the average person can be involved in development, especially when it comes to, the empowerment for women and all. But like, would you say that there are any specific mindset shifts that people should start having in terms of, like, when it comes to tackling this poverty thing we're talking about?
Amazing question. So one thing I would say, he's not a philosopher, a researcher, Mr. Cormac Russell. He says that if I ask you, well, maybe not you, Joy, Mr. Kayode Adebayo, please introduce yourself. Mr. Kayode Adebayo doesn't start off by saying, hi, I'm Kayode, I'm a bad person. My bed is not properly laid at home. Nobody starts off introducing themselves in a negative light. We always put out, our best foot forward, right? So when it comes to people, when it comes to communities, why is it that we are always looking at, the negative parts of them? We want to help them, but our focus is always on the negative parts. Yes, these people are disadvantaged and economically, but they're also resilient. They show up at their farms. If they don't farm, the bigger people in the,
at the top
chain,
of the chain,
will not get food. So they are
food.
actually important. Do you understand? So there is a shift that has a lot of things that have to just happen with from the traditional way we've approached development, right, to a new focus. This new focus is saying that as an NGO, you're not just going into a community. Oh, I want to help them. Let me give an instance of a time an NGO went to a community and they were building wells. It was good because they needed water, but because the woman needs to trek very far to fetch water, right? And they will find out that these wells were getting consistently broken.
Okay.
And they didn't know why. In coming back to speak with these women, they would tell them, like, we are undergoing violence in our homes. And to get away from that environment, we prefer to walk
that
miles.
distance.
So we don't want these wells. Do you understand? So if you just go into a community, you just want to help
That's
them.
more of an emotional response, like reason why they would.
If you just go into a community and you don't interact with the people, you don't get to know their local context, their local stories, you're just looking at the negative part and you just want to help and just pour out your own solutions, the long-term effect will never, it would not just be there. Do you understand? Long-term impact will not happen. So now we have to rethink how we do these things. Look at the positive sides to these people. Involve them in the empowerment programs that you're making. Don't just go to a community and you just want to be the one from start to finish. Then you just, you guys join them. They have to be involved in the process of development, of empowerment. Do you understand? And focus on, that's what the man would say, focus on what is strong in people, not what is wrong. When you focus on what is strong, you're able to develop their potentials. You're able to develop their capabilities or capacities. You're able to expand on those things and, long-term development will happen that way. So that's the mindset shift that I would, like that people approach development now, right? Don't just focus on what is wrong in them. Look at Tunde Onokoya. If you had
yeah.
just said these people are just slum kids,
He wouldn't
you would
help
not
them.
know the potential that will come
Yeah.
out of these children. Do you understand? So you have to focus on what is strong in them and not what
And
is
build
wrong
on that.
in them. Yeah.
Thank you so. Oh my God,
Thank
I think
you.
I enjoyed this episode more than whoever is watching. Thank you so much, Tega Edwards,
Thank you.
for coming on the show and for enlightening us on this topic. I've had such a great time.
Me
Thank
too.
you. Okay, so I like to always do some icebreakers.
Okay.
What's like your favorite hobby
Do I have a
aside
favorite hobby?
fashion and dressing up?
Do I maybe watching documentaries? I spend a lot of time on YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Watching
Documentaries.
documentaries. Yeah.
Would you is there anyone that you just recommend? Like, what's your top 3 or your top 1 top documentary?
Not really. They're always
Is it crime? Is it just
No,
any random?
any year.
But just like, what's your reason for
Just
what?
information.
Okay.
And well, sometimes I'm also trying to guard my heart because a lot of content is just like sexualized. So I know that documentaries are very safe for me. Yeah, that's why I spend a lot of time watching interesting documentaries. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Thank you so much
Thank you,
for
guys.
joining us today on this episode. It was such a pleasure, hosting this conversation. And I do hope, like, I'm giving an open invitation again to Tega Edwards that she can come back again on this
I'll
space.
be happy to.
Amazing. And do check out Sling and Stones, right?
.store.
.store, right? That's you can put that on like the web. Okay, .store. Amazing. And you actually find lovely pieces. I take it from me. Okay, so thank you again for joining us on this episode. My name is Joy Abia and I remain your host here on FemBiz. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And do follow us on all our social media platforms. And this is at B360 TV on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thank you. That's bye for now.
Bye.